In this video, I will talk about how Eren in Timeline 3 was the mastermind of his own path and how he manipulated many characters, starting with Ymir and ending with him being born to complete his mission. Not only that, I want to question if Eren's actions in Timeline 3 were necessary to reach his goal or if Eren in this timeline was literally the devil. So Eren in Timeline 3 has two versions. Eren is necessarily evil, after trying many times before in previous timelines or loops and failing to protect parody and breaking the loop. The only path left to him was this one, which led him to manipulate many characters to reach his goal. Or Eren is pure evil by nature, he doesn't care about freedom or anything else more than dooming the humans and leading them to hell. He manipulates many characters just to make humans suffer, as he represents the devil, and that's his nature. After this video, it is up to you to decide which version is the best that complies with the story themes. To me, I like the first version. Eren is necessarily evil. Whether you are religious or not, I believe all of us know what the devil means and what he is capable of doing, like whispering to do the bad and evil things, unlike the angels and God. As we see in the images above, Eren and his Attack Titan look and act more like devils, so the question is, what is Isayama's ultimate goal for the Eren character? Is it to show his evil actions were necessary to end the time loop, or to show that Eren is evil by nature and his actions come from him being the devil himself? By following the same logic, Eren influenced his father Grisha to kill the royal family in Timeline 3. The same thing happened before that with Ymir. Eren influenced Ymir to free the pigs. Now to apply the two previous versions. Eren is a freedom seeker, he influences Ymir to free the pigs, she gets chased till she falls inside the tree, starting the loop one last time to make sure things end up by him this time as he plans. Or Eren is the devil, he manipulates Ymir to free the pigs, she gets punished and chased till she falls inside the tree, starting the Titan curse, which leads humanity to live in hell and suffering from the Titans for more than 1800 years. I think Kruger's father's death was planned by Eren Yeager himself just to make sure that Kruger would follow the path of vengeance, and grow with hatred and revenge against Marley and following the mission of restoring Eldia till he passes his Titan to Grisha. Not only that, but I think even Kruger's name Eren was named after Eren Yeager and not vice versa. How could that happen? I imagine it this way, the Attack Titan holder before Kruger was close friend to his father, he was the one who suggested to name his son Eren to Kruger's father, and he was the one responsible for Kruger's father's death too, making sure that his son Eren Kruger was witnessing that from the closet, all that happened under the influence of Eren Yeager. Following the two versions, Kruger's father's death was a necessary sacrifice for Eren Yeager to achieve true freedom and to end the loop. Or Eren Yeager is the devil who made all these characters suffer just because that's his evil nature. After witnessing the failing past timelines that ends always with parody destruction and the loop keeps continuing in Timeline 3, Eren makes sure this time things play differently by interfering and influencing some key characters and events, so that he can end the time loop for good this time. Like he does with Eren Kruger here, when Eren Yeager interferes himself to make sure he passes the mission to his father Grisha, focusing on finding love and building a family so the same mistakes and the same history won't happen again, and to save parody and all the Eldians by breaking the time loop at the end. With Eren Yeager influencing Kruger and his father Grisha, this leads us to the conclusion that Eren Yeager was influencing and manipulating most of the past Attack Titan, and the founding Titan holders through paths in the past 2000 years, which means since the founder Ymir, Eren was making his own path in Timeline 3. To me, the contradictions we see with Kruger and Grisha, and how they were against the rumbling in the manga ending only mean that in Timeline 2 Kruger and Grisha were ordinary people following fate, while in Timeline 3 Eren Yeager intervened and made sure that Kruger and Grisha make their mission, which was passing the memories of saving Mikasa, Armin, and everyone else to Eren Yeager's younger self. To make it more clear, this is how I see it. In Timeline 2, Kruger passing the Attack Titan to Grisha happened differently from what we see in the anime. Kruger gave the Attack Titan to Grisha by chance without knowing about any mission to complete. In Timeline 3, Kruger passing the Attack Titan to Grisha happened the same as what we see in the anime. Kruger gave the Attack Titan to Grisha, instructing him to complete his mission. In Timeline 2, Eren did succeed in saving his friends Mikasa and Armin, as they lived long lives till the end, but he still failed to save everyone else after parody got destroyed at the end. I think Faye's death was planned by Eren Yeager too, just to make sure that his father Grisha would follow the path of vengeance and grow with hatred and revenge against Marley, following the mission of restoring and saving Eldia till he passes his Titan to his son Eren in the future. How could that happen? I see it this way, Kruger delayed Grisha's joining his sister, knowing what would happen to her. After many years, when Grisha becomes a doctor, Kruger sees potential in him and sends Grice to let him know what happened to his sister Faye. After knowing that, Grisha takes a vow to restore Eldia and take revenge against Marley. All this happened under the influence of Eren Yeager, and Kruger was following his instructions through paths. Following the two versions, Faye's death was a necessary sacrifice for Eren Yeager to achieve true freedom and end the loop. or Eren Yeager is the devil who made all these characters suffer just because that's his evil nature. The fact that Kruger sent Dina Fritz to the Eldian Restorationists was planned, as he saw in her some similarities with Grisha ideology and that she could get along with him and become his wife, and with that they could have children with royal family blood. Unfortunately, Zeke wasn't the potential kid that would carry the mission to restore Eldia. After Grisha and Dina's failure, which led most of the Eldian Restorationists to be sent to Paradia's Titans, Kruger went to the second plan, which was to instruct Grisha to find love and make a family, so to make sure that Eren would be born. Kruger sacrificed Dina and let her become the Titan who would eat Eren's mother in the future, which would trigger Eren to follow the path of vengeance and grow with hate and anger to take revenge on what happened to his mother. All this happened under the influence of Eren Yeager, as Kruger was following his instructions through paths. The hesitation of Frieda in this scene tells us that either she is aware of Eren Yeager present when he was talking to his father Grisha, or in another crazy plot twist, Frieda was under the influence of Eren same as Grisha too, and Eren gave her instructions to lose her founder Titan and pass it on to his father Grisha. In this popular scene and one of the biggest plot twists, we see that Eren Yeager was the one who instructed his father to kill the royal family after he hesitated first. And this scene is one of the basics of my theory in this video, because here we learn that Attack Titan can see the future through memories, and can intervene in some events to make sure they happen to lead to the future he desires. Eren reminding his father with his sister Faye and his wife Dina and Kruger in this scene gives us hints that this is not the first time Eren has done this, as he has been intervening and influencing or manipulating those events and many more since the founder Ymir, passing by many Attack Titan holders until Kruger and Grisha, and lastly himself. Eren Yeager was the one who made Dina Titan go after his mother and eat her just to make sure that his younger version in Timeline 3 would take the path of vengeance and grow full of hate and anger, to take revenge on humanity outside the walls and complete the mission of breaking the time loop. All of these events were orchestrated by Eren Yeager himself, especially for Kruger, Grisha, and Eren himself, so that he makes sure these characters would take the path of vengeance and fight till he will reach his goal of true freedom, breaking the time loop at the end. Were all these deaths and sacrifices necessary for Eren to reach true freedom? Or was Eren just planning these evil deeds because he was the devil all along? Batman's origin story features him swearing vengeance against criminals after witnessing the murder of his parents, Thomas and Martha. As a child, a vendetta tempered with the ideal of justice. He trains himself physically and intellectually, crafts a bat-inspired persona, and monitors the Gotham streets at night. In other words, Bruce Wayne would never be Batman if it weren't for his parents' deaths. Same to these characters, Kruger, Grisha, and Eren, they would never become the characters they are if they didn't lose a dear one at a young age. That's why I believe Eren Yeager intervened in these events and made sure they would happen through paths. This is how I see these events and other ones I didn't mention here. Most of the contradictions in the story are due to it happening in a different timeline. Beauty and the Beast is a story about a young prince that was cast under a spell. His spell could only be broken with true love. He found love with Beauty, and she in time returned his love. They marry, and the prince's spell is broken in the end. Ymir offering the apple to the devil resembles Historia offering her fertility to Eren. In which Ymir symbolizes Historia, the apple symbolizes her pregnancy, and the devil symbolizes Eren. The two versions. Eren the Freedom Seeker. In Timeline 3, Eren and Historia were in love with each other. Finally, Eren's mission to find love and build a family would succeed with Historia, and with that he could free Ymir and break the time loop. Or Eren the Devil. In Timeline 3, Eren manipulated Historia memories to bear his children, as he didn't care about freedom much and his mission was only to keep his bloodline going, while brings ruin to the world by killing all humanity outside the walls. This might sound crazy, but I think Karl Fritz was following Eren Yeager's plan, and he was under his influence and to choose the path of peace and to build the walls on Paradis Island. But that seems contradictory to Eren ideology, why he would do that. Exactly. Eren Yeager wanted that, he wanted to build that environment and that fake peace where the walls represent a big cage, till one day they would be breached and lead to his mother's death, which will give his younger version a strong desire to fight and to eradicate all of his enemies on Earth. How did Eren do that? Since Eren is the last holder for the Founding Titan, he would use both the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan abilities to travel through paths and memories to influence King Karl Fritz, instructing him to follow his plan so he could truly free Ymir and breaking the time loop at the end. Like King Karl Fritz, the Tiber family was following Eren Yeager's plan. I see the responsibility and the duty that were mentioned in the images above. In Willy, and Laura's words as hints that for the past 100 years the Tiber family has been preparing through generations for the chosen day, which is the day that a man named Eren Yeager would attack Marley. The Tiber family's mission and duty were to make sure that attack would happen, uniting all of the world against Eren Yeager and his nation Eldia. And same with Karl Fritz, Eren Yeager using the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan abilities to go back in time through paths and memories, and influence the Tiber family at that time to follow his mission and plan till one day he would come to end the cycle of hatred for good. I see it this way. Eren Yeager instructs Karl Fritz to build the walls with millions of colossal titans as his ultimate weapon, as that one day he will use it when he unleashes his rage on all the humans with the rumbling, and he instructs the Tiber family that when the time comes, they should prepare a worldwide alliance attack on Paradis Island, so he would use the rumbling as a defense mechanism against that. Willy Tiber's responsibility and duty was to sacrifice himself for the cause of Eren's Yeager mission to end the time loop. I believe Lara Tiber sacrificed herself too for Eren so he could use the Warhammer Titan in the full rumbling. Side note, I think the Tiber family were actually from the royal family, and they were descendants of King Karl Fritz. They used the name Tiber as a fake name to hide their true identity from Marley. If there is an original ending in the future, I strongly believe the mysterious character, Willy Tiber, has to play a big role in it. Did Eren do all of this to achieve true freedom, or was he doing this because of his nature to be the devil? Eren Yeager did all that manipulation for all those characters in this moment, when he accessed his father's memories through his brother Zeke in paths. I don't support this theory as it has some complications and would lead to plot holes. Or Eren Yeager did all that manipulation for all those characters in the moment when he died in Timeline 2. Eren became the coordinate who could create and access all timelines and affect some events until he make the perfect timeline. This theory is what I want to talk about, as it works with what I was talking about in this whole video. So my theory is when Eren died and his head got buried under the tree in Timeline 2, we saw his tree grow to become similar to Ymir's tree, which means the Path's realm still exists and Eren is the center of that realm. That means Eren Yeager himself is literally the Path's coordinate, and he can access and or create all these timelines till he reaches and or creates the perfect timeline that would end the time loop for good. I used an or above because I have two versions of this theory. The complicated version and the simple version. After Eren's death and his head getting buried under the tree in Timeline 2, he becomes the coordinate that allows him to create all the known timelines and other timelines and affect all of his characters in this timeline, and the other characters, until he creates the perfect character version of himself in the perfect timeline that would allow him to truly free Ymir and end the time loop. This theory version is complicated because it creates a paradox. This is similar to the chicken or egg paradox. In this case, which one comes first and which causes the other one between Eren being buried under the tree in Timeline 2 and Eren the coordinate? I support this theory version as it works with what I have been talking about in previous videos. The beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. After Eren's death and his head getting buried under the tree in Timeline 2, he becomes the coordinate that allows him to access all the known timelines and other timelines. Eren wouldn't affect his characters or manipulate other characters. All he can do is looking for the perfect character in the perfect timeline that would lead Ymir to be truly free and end the time loop. This theory version is simple and similar to the complicated version, as both show Eren being buried in Timeline 2 would create Eren the coordinate that later would truly free Ymir and break the time loop. What is different between the two versions is that in the complicated version, Eren creates the timelines and affects his characters, and manipulates other characters till he creates the perfect character in the perfect timeline, when in the simple version, Eren accesses the timelines only without affecting his characters or manipulating other characters. He keeps looking till he finds the perfect character and accesses the perfect timeline. As I said, I support the complicated version of this theory, as it works better with my whole theory in this video. Eren the coordinate makes progress through trial and error. I almost forgot to mention that Eren the coordinate was also controlling his characters to some degree in these timelines, and with every choice he makes in every path in every timeline, Eren the coordinate learns about what he gets right and wrong and makes some progress in the next timeline, until he creates the perfect character with the perfect timeline. This also means that Eren the coordinate led his character in Timeline 2 to die and fail, so that he could be created in the first place as Eren the coordinate, and get this ultimate power so he could eventually create the perfect character in the perfect timeline that would break the time loop. Odin sacrificed his eye and himself in exchange for wisdom and knowledge. Odin sacrificed his eye by willingly giving it up at the Well of Mimi, a mystical well that granted him profound insight and foresight. This act symbolizes the cost of gaining deep understanding and the pursuit of greater wisdom in Norse mythology. Odin sacrificed himself too on the World Tree, Yggdrasil, to gain knowledge and wisdom. This self-sacrifice involved hanging himself on the tree for 9 days and nights, pierced by his own spear, in a quest for greater understanding of the secrets of the universe. I already talked about how Attack on Titan is heavily inspired by Norse mythology. I believe Odin sacrificing himself in exchange for wisdom and understanding the secrets of the universe was what inspired Isayama to make Eren sacrifice himself in Timeline 2, so he would become the coordinate who would get wisdom and knowledge from the path source and access all timelines. And this supports my complicated version of my theory. Why Eren's death in Timeline 2 would be special? There is a theory out there that claims that Mikasa killed and decapitated Eren's head in Timeline 1 the same as she did in Timeline 2. Now, I'm not sure if this theory is true or not, but there is something I've recently been thinking of and I want to add it to this theory. Eren's death in Timeline 1 and him waking up in the same position in Timeline 2 tells me that Eren didn't get buried in Timeline 1, as Mikasa was so obsessed with him to the point that she didn't even bury his body. Opposite to that in Timeline 2 ending, Mikasa did bury Eren's head after she killed him, and we see him waking up under the tree in the same position in Timeline 3. So my theory is in all past timelines Eren's dead body was never buried. The only time he was buried under the tree was in Timeline 2, and that's what allowed his tree to become similar to Ymir's tree. Therefore the paths existed again and Eren became the coordinate who could control, create, and access all the timelines. What is true freedom to Eren? I believe it's not about him doing the full rumbling and killing all humanity outside there, but true freedom for Eren is about him breaking the time loop, and dying peacefully after he lives a satisfied life instead of repeating to live a miserable lives in all those timelines. The full rumbling is just a necessary solution for him to reach that goal and break the time loop. To understand it more, please check out my video about the series Dark, and see how Eren's character is similar to Adam's character and how both grow more hateful and evil with each timeline. As they are stuck in time loops, Adam manages to break the time loop in the end, and therefore Eren will do the same in the future. As this image could symbolize Eren and Historia in Timeline 3, I believe it symbolizes Ymir and Eren the coordinate too, in which when Ymir fell inside the tree in the past, she got contact with Eren who died and buried under the tree in Timeline 2, and who became the coordinate and the source of paths in the present, which means the deal was always between Ymir and Eren the devil. The end is the beginning and the beginning is the end.
そしてその道は全て一つの座標で交わる。つまりそれが始祖の巨人だ。
全てのユミルの民はその座標へとつながっている。
始祖ユミルの正体は一体何なんだ。
マーレ政権下では悪魔の使い、エルディア帝国の時代では神がもたらした奇跡、有機生物の起源と接触した少女、そう唱える者もいる。
は？
この世に真実などない。それが現実だ。誰だって神でも悪魔にでもなれる。誰かがそれを真実だと言えばな。